All right, welcome everyone to this session. This is some exciting stuff going on here. This is the first time I've done this, so I'm hoping it doesn't all just fall to bits at some point. But so far, so good. It's looking good. So, yeah. So, like I was saying, I guess the idea of this session is really I wanted to do this bonus session to try and tie any loose ends up. So throughout the 5 weeks, I think most of you have been on all or most of those sessions, and I've had quite a bit of contact with you. And it seems like some of the questions that I put out, I often get similar responses. You know, there'll generally be a couple of things that someone is having a challenge with, and I can't always answer it within that topic. So I also wanted to create this extra session to answer some of the stuff that might have fallen just outside of the topics that that I was presenting, and also to see your faces and have a bit more a live back and forth, because you know, doing the chat box thing, I don't know if any of you know, but when I'm actually doing that broadcast, you're seeing it about 30 seconds after I'm actually doing it. So when I ask you a question, I have to wait, get into it. So this way we can chat back and forth. So what I thought I would do is go through some of the questions that people sent through, and then at that point maybe open it up to more discussion, so we can go back if you want extra clarity on certain things, and then we can kind of open it to just a free-for-all. We can just totally go for it from there. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, good.
Oh, instant feedback. So good. Oh, they're there. They're alive.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So. Okay. Let me just check out here. So, I don't know if I should mention whose questions they are. I might just go through the question, and if it's yours, you'll know it's yours. So, there are a couple of questions here. So, for me, lack of time, lack of focus is keeping me from moving forward. So, it's really funny. This week, I did a whole video series. I did video series of 3 videos, and generally when I was putting out questions to you guys, and I also did a survey with my email list a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, and the thing that came up, I think, in every single response was one of the things that's holding me back in my creative practice is lack of time, lack of money. So I actually did a video series on this week because it's every single artist I've ever spoken to has this issue, and it's also known as the artist's dilemma. It's a very well-known dilemma of how do you balance these two things. Because they're almost the same. They're interchangeable in a way, because if you want more time, generally the equation is that you give up a bit of money to have that time, but then you need money to do your creative practice. So what I offered in those videos was some of the stuff I offered in 2 of the different sessions that we did. So one of them was the prioritizing. So I don't know if you remember that I drew up this quadrant, and in one of the quadrants was your artwork, and that falls into a category which is important but not urgent. And that category, it's really hard to make things in that quadrant happen. And other things that live in that quadrant are quality, important things in your life. So it'll be your art practice. It'll be, you know, quality time with family. It'll be things that lead to your personal growth, any type of personal growth. And these things are generally hard to do, and that's why very few people make the effort to do them. And we often get swept up in things that are not important. So things like checking Facebook constantly, doing emails, responding to like useless emails, but spending half an hour, or getting distracted by random phone calls, or hanging out with random people, or someone asks you a favor last minute and you want to stay in their good graces, so you just say yes, but it eats up half your day when you were planning to do creative work, that kind of thing. So the time thing, to boil that down, what I went through a process of doing was getting really, really clear on what I wanted in my art practice. That's kind of what we did in the first session of, what's your creative vision? What's your real ideal creative vision? What do you want to achieve? And then basically everything that crossed my path from that moment on, I would ask myself the question, why am I doing this thing? Or is this thing directly related to my creative vision? And if the answer was no, then it became basically an unimportant thing. It was either a distraction or an unimportant thing. So that's a really good practice to get in. So from tonight onwards, or from tomorrow onwards, that awareness and that presence of going, okay, this thing has just landed on my plate. Is this thing important, and is it going to get me closer to my creative vision? If the answer is no, then I basically just wouldn't do it. So even if I had someone call me last minute and ask, to help, carry a mattress across town or something, what I would say, and this is another thing that I've mentioned, is you say yes to the person but no to the task. So you don't just be a jerk about it. You say, I would love to help you, but I have this other thing planned. I can help you at this future time, but right now, I'm doing my creative work, or whatever it is. And this is a really hard thing for artists to do, because when you're a creative person, if you have any creative time and someone at that same time says, do you want to catch up for a coffee, and you haven't seen them for a little while, it becomes really difficult for some artists to say, no, I can't catch up with you because I'm doing my art. Because there's this feeling like, well, my art isn't that urgent, and this person, I haven't seen them for a while, so, I can do my art, later in the week or whatever. And that becomes the pattern that emerges, where your art is always second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth on the list. So in answer to this question, how do you get more time? It's anything that crosses your plate, you decide whether it's important, as in, is it attached to a long-term vision, something that's more fulfilling. Another way to decide about it is ask yourself, will my future self thank me for doing this? And will this be involved in my future happiness, my long-term happiness? So, so something like Facebook, your future self is never going to say to you, I'm so happy you spent hours just like scrolling through Facebook and looking at other people's feed. In that last minutes of your life, you're not going to be looking back and going, I was so proud of how many times I updated Facebook. So you're going to want to look back and say, okay, I'm really proud of the effort I put into my creative work, and because I built something beautiful, and I built something that I was connected to, that nourished other people and connected other people to themselves. And whatever your art practice, whatever you feel that does for you and does for others, and that's why it's something that's classed as important, because it has value to you and to others. Okay, so I hope, actually, I might just open this up for discussion. Does that feel clear, or does anyone have any questions about that?
Yeah, it's good.
No, that's clear.
Yeah, that's very clear.
Cool.
It's just about getting into that habit.
Welcome. Yeah, great. What was that?
It's just about making it a habit of making it a priority and saying, yeah, this time that I've scheduled for this is for this, which is not, new
Yeah.
habits, not forming new habits.
Yeah, exactly. It's about
Oh, I think the internet dropped out or something.
He's gone. Come back, Mia.
for that last minute.
no.
Is the connection going off?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
For a
okay,
second.
again now.
It's back? Okay. Yeah, so that last minute, coffee invitation, it can swipe you because it's difficult to justify your creative practice, and it's hard to say to someone, "Oh, I can't catch up with you because I'm working on my art."
Yeah.
Because there's lots of guilt and shame and selfishness all wrapped up in that stuff. But when it becomes a priority and you've committed that in your mind as something that's special to you and really important to you, then the way that I think about it is that it's like this really precious, like a trophy or a jewel. And in the throes of life where there's
Daniel, this is the last one. I've missed all of them because of things we've been doing.
there's constant things trying to knock you off your perch, and there are always other obligations and invitations to things and whatever, and they're all vying for your time. And so the way I think about it is you're in this torrent constantly of life, pushing you around, but what you always want to be conscious of is having your art and your art practice and just holding it above water constantly. So it's the thing that you want to rescue. It's the thing in the burning building that you go in for first, and it's this thing that you treasure and that you consciously have to make time for it and consciously have to hold it above water, and that's the way of prioritizing it so that other things don't steal that time from you. Yeah. So that's that. Okay. So I think that in a way that also answers the question of focus, because it's another thing that I do to stay focused on whatever in my creative practice. If I block out 2 hours, I will decide what I need to do in that 2 hours, and then if I ever get distracted, I again come back to this question. I had this on a big piece of paper next to my desk, and it just says why. So it makes me in that moment be really conscious and say, why am I doing this other thing? And then I bring my focus back, my attention back, and that's a way of maintaining focus. There's a whole host of other tools and things that I can share, like time management stuff and reminders and all that sort of stuff, but I probably won't go into all that right now, except to say when you prioritize your creative practice, generally you also start to focus on it. I might go to another question here. Any questions or comments on that so far?
No.
Yeah, the why is really good. I find that that kind of helps all right.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I suppose my one was like that. It's hard to where I'm at now compared to where I want to be. So having that, keep asking that question, why am I doing this, kind of helps that big time.
Yeah. Cool. Excellent. And that's a
Yeah.
perfect segue, actually, Anne-Marie. I was going to go to this question about how do I stay on track? So from where I am now to where I want to go, how do I keep moving in the right direction and holding this vision strong when it feels like my progress is so slow? So
Yeah.
there's actually, do other people feel that as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. So there are a couple of things on this, and I'm going to draw a picture to explain how to not get overwhelmed with a big creative vision or any kind of creative vision or goal. And this is really common when you're standing at the foot of an enormous mountain and you really want to get up that mountain and you know it's going to be amazing at the top. There's this sense of overwhelm, like, oh my God, I've got so much to do, and that can be really debilitating, and it can just make you quit, or it can make you totally doubt yourself and then, you know, bail on the project. So I'll give a couple of examples. The first one is this. So this is just a big circle on a page, but this represents your goal. So that's your big, awesome, creative vision. And so I'm just going to turn it into like a 6-month vision for now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Then within that massive circle is these 6 smaller circles. So these are, you know, these would be like medium-sized goals. And so let's just say in this example it's 6 paintings. Someone wants to do 6 paintings. So whatever it might, you can kind of if you could somehow just divide it into 6 for now, that'd be rad. So there's the 6 paintings, and then each painting, let's just say it's made up of 5 sessions. 5 sessions of turning up and painting. So I've just kind of done that over here, right? So each one of these represents 1 session of turning up and hanging out in front of the canvas. And then in each one of those, I'm just doing lots of little dots here. I'm just going to show you this one here, where my finger is. That one there. I don't know if you can quite see that. But each one of those little dots is 1 small action. So each one of those is 1 brush stroke, or mixing some paint, or cleaning the brushes, or whatever, preparing a canvas, or I don't know, fixing your easel, whatever it is. And so everyone knows that they can do that little thing there, and they can do that little thing there, and they can do that little thing there. They're all just these really small, achievable, almost effortless little things that you have to do. So the way that I basically explain this is it's a series of tiny, really doable actions, and then suddenly this circle pops into existence. And so that's now happened. That's 1 session done. And then another one just happens. And another one happens, another one happens. And once those 5 have happened, then this big circle pops into existence. And then suddenly that's a painting done. That's 1 painting done. And then these other paintings, they're a series of those exact same little steps. So when it comes to that bigger vision, it can be really overwhelming. But and the other analogy that I kind of started with earlier, hang on, I'm going to see if I can get a fat text through onto this. Here we go. Okay. So the other analogy I started with before was this here, which is basically a big mountain, right? And you're at the bottom, and you're thinking, how the hell do I get up there? And we all know that the only step you can take in this present moment is this little one here. So there's no way of taking that step right now, or that one, or that one. But you definitely can take this one. It's a small and achievable one, and it's also the only one you can take. So, they say a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So it's the same in your own creative practice. So that's a kind of perspective thing of looking at a large goal and then basically becoming really present in the present moment and saying, what can I do right now? And then taking that action, and taking that action really clearly and confidently, knowing that it's part of this bigger journey and that it is meaningful.
Yeah.
So when I talked about the daily practice, so got my daily practice card here from last week, I think, and the way that I look at a daily practice, and the reason I always talk about celebrating, I don't know if you can see that, so celebrating it, is this addresses this part of saying, when it feels, how do I hold that vision when it feels like my progress is so slow? This is one of the answers. This is a tactile bit of proof that action was taken this week or last week. And that's the reason it's really important to celebrate it. Because in that moment, what I do whenever I do my daily practice and I look back at that day, I take that moment, it might be just like 5 or 10 seconds, and I say to myself, today I took 4 steps towards that bigger goal. And here they are. I can see the little ticks in these boxes. And that starts to reinforce that there's progress, there's forward movement, that I know I can't be at that final destination just yet, but I'm absolutely certain that I took steps today in that direction. Because I'm sure people who are at the at base camp at Mount Everest, they take the first couple of steps and they're like, oh my God, I've hardly moved anywhere. Or they, in the first hour or 2 hours, they're like, this is going nowhere. I'm never going to get there. But slowly but surely, step by step, it happens. Okay. Does that help to answer that question for you, Anne-Marie?
Yep, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that's good.
So there's there's heaps of other stuff on that as well. The thing that I'm constantly harping on about, and I think I mentioned it a few times in the sessions, is this concept of high intention, low attachment. So when I think about really amazing movements in history and in last century of Martin Luther King and people like that who had a really high ideal, and they had no idea whether they were going to make it or not, or whether it was going to pan out the way they wanted. But if they were attached to every little setback, or that it wasn't going forward or whatever, and that it made them feel like they were a failure, then they would have quit very early on. So this concept of having a high intention, of really having a noble goal, but then also maintaining non-attachment to the outcomes. So if you have a bad day or whatever, or a piece of work doesn't turn out the way you want, not to be attached to that outcome, and again, knowing it's part of a bigger vision. Okay. Any questions or comments at this point?
I think a lot of it is patience as well. Definitely patience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an inherently tricky career path or pursuit, because results are not immediate. They can be, if you have a good practice session, or you have a good painting session, then there's something tactile there, and you can step back and go, wow, I did that, or I made that, and that's a bit of a buzz. But I've done some work with my dad, and he's a bricklayer, and I've done other bits of work in construction, and there's something absolutely beautiful and awesome about working in construction. Is at the end of the day, you can look back and you can see this physical representation of your efforts, and you can pat yourself on the back and go, oh, that was awesome what we did. But when I do a songwriting session or a practice session or whatever, there's nothing tactile there to look back on, and sometimes it feels like, oh, I didn't do anything, or I didn't get anywhere. But that's again where this little daily practice card is really helpful for that. You can acknowledge your effort. Say, okay, I did some stuff today. Okay, cool.
What I find daunting is I'm trying to make a board game right now, and I can design everything, and I'm quite confident in my ability to make all the art and packaging and everything. But then the things that I haven't even experienced yet, like trying to talk to someone about producing it or something like that, is what I find daunting. Like that kind of, I know it's like one of the steps up high on the mountain, but it still is kind of there in the vision, kind of just looking over. Because I know I got to get there at some point.
That's kind of the admin.
And I've never experienced that before.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're totally right. It's something like that where if you haven't had the experience of going through it, it will loom there. It'll go, okay, you can keep going, but when you get to this point, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that uncertainty. Yeah, for sure. That can be really, and I mean that's where a lot of this self-belief and self-trust comes in. But they're really all trusting the process and trusting that that everything's learnable, or you can't predict everything in the future, good or bad, basically, and that trying to come to a place where you're really confident in what you're doing and the product, that once it's ready, that someone will take it up and help you with it. But I think that's a really huge thing, that artists actually have an advantage with this concept of a growth mindset. So they talk about these two types of mindset: a static mindset, where someone basically says, well, I don't know how to do it, and
I dropped out. So.
I don't do things like that, and that's out of my comfort zone or whatever. And there's the growth mindset, where as artists, generally, if you've learned any type of skill, you have overcome, or you've joined the dots saying, okay, if I practice, I can learn this thing and I can get better at it. And then it's this confidence-competence loop that I've talked about. And then you make this, it's an experiential knowledge that if I apply time and effort to something, it's learnable. And knowing that basically everything is learnable, and there's someone out there who knows how to do it, and they can show you. I think that's where creative people are actually at an advantage.
But I'll finish making dinner after it. It shouldn't go for much longer
comes
than
to solving problems, and that's really a big part of what artists do and what creative people do, is they solve those problems, because other people say, well, we don't know how to do it. So let's not. Where creative people kind of latch onto those things and say, okay, I'm going to work this out. Yeah. So what I would say, stay present with what you're doing. Make that product as awesome as possible, and that someone will pick it up. Someone will take it, and if they don't, you'll be able to work out how to do it at that point. From the interaction I've had with you, Aidan, you seem like an extremely capable, competent, intelligent human being who's got your fingers in a lot of pies and doing a lot of different stuff. So I'm sure you totally nut that out when you come to that point. Do you feel that that's true?
Yeah, I feel pretty capable, but I just I have so many mental obstacles more than I do talent-wise, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, after all the sessions I've been doing with you, I've definitely overcome a lot more things than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I have a lot more focus on completing things now.
Yeah, great. Great. Excellent. High five. That's awesome. Yeah, that is. That's something that came up in those sessions about the multi-passionate and stuff like that, that the following through in your creative vision is really super important, completing something. So it sounds like, yeah, the board game is something that's really exciting and that you're passionate about at the moment. And yeah, it's about really making a decision and making a commitment. It's something I probably didn't talk enough about, is making decisions and committing to something. I've found that through the courses that I do and coaching that I do one-on-one with creatives, is making a decision and committing to something is really, really difficult, because as artists and creatives, we like the flow of things. We don't like to be hemmed in. We don't like structure too much. We want to be able to kind of hop from one, cool, shiny thing to the next. But what I've noticed in my own practice is that focusing on a thing and deciding I'm going to complete this thing is really crucial to your own confidence and ability and all of that stuff, and also just seeing results in the outside world and getting stuff out there. So, yeah, cool. Are there any other questions that are on people's minds at the moment? Or any comment? No? All right, cool. So there's another thing here that I've picked up on. Someone's asking about the idea of confidence and motivation and having a lack of focus. So something I would have loved to have gone into more in the sessions is the idea of motivation, and it's also another word that lots of creatives, I think, just cringe at thinking about motivation or being motivated, or that I'm out there trying to motivate you to do your creative work. What I would prefer to do is excite you and inspire you to do your creative work, but motivation is really crucial, and the way that I mainly address the idea of motivation is there's generally a concept about motivation that, I want to get to this goal, and so I've got to like motivate myself, and I've got to like pump myself up with energy, and I've got to like push, and I've got to try, and I've got to, sounds like this really grueling idea. But the way that I have integrated motivation and following through is a concept that's more about being drawn towards something, so that you become compelled to do the thing because it's so meaningful and it's so important that it basically becomes more difficult not to do it. That it becomes in your mind, it has such value and is such a contribution, and it's a part of your deeper purpose and your higher self, and a purpose of you being here, your life, that basically to not do it would be more difficult than doing it. You would need motivation to not do it. It becomes such a compelling and interesting thing to do. So the way that I do that with others is, one of the first things is I talk about your why. So there's a saying that with a big enough why, the how is easy. So if you think about, so the way that I break this down is into 3 simple questions. The first question is, why is it important for me to do this? What are the reasons that this is important for me to do this? So with your creative practice, I don't know, would you all be happy to throw one reason at me why you feel it's important to do your creative work?
Because it makes me happy.
Yeah.
Because I want to contribute something to the world.
Yeah.
Oh,
Contribution.
I just have so many ideas in my brain that I just need to get them out.
Yeah. You're going to explode. That's a good reason to get them out.
As a way of self-expression, just kind of like sharing stuff that I mightn't or that I'm not able to maybe verbally or whatever. So it's quite important.
Yeah. Really important.
Because it's such a important feeling to have. That's a very unique feeling that nothing else really gives.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. They're great reasons. They're all great reasons. And you can all steal each other's, if that was helpful. And then the second question to go into is, what is the pain of not doing or not having it? So if you really go, I mean, if you project yourself again to the end of your life and you look back and then go, I didn't do any of that, and I don't have any of those things that I really desired. If you go through and list all of the emotions, the painful emotions of that, or painful emotional states, or whether it's regret or some, like when I think of that, it's extremely painful to think that even if I couldn't do my creative practice, or I couldn't write songs, or for some reason that wasn't available to me, I would feel like I couldn't think of too many other reasons to exist. Like I think so much of my life and my personality would be gone, be very painful. And then the third question is, what is the feeling of fully achieving it? So what's the feeling, and what are the states, and what does that look like, and how does that feel? So these become really positive reasons to move towards it. So if one of the feelings is Anne-Marie, like fulfillment and contribution, like that you've contributed and given yourself wholeheartedly to the world, like that's an extremely fulfilling and compelling reason to create art or to do your creative work. And so they're the three kind of questions. That's the way of breaking the why down. Because generally, if you ask someone, why do you want to do something, it's a massive question. It can be very difficult to answer. So that's one way of doing it, of breaking it down. So again, when I think back to people who have overcome a lot of adversity and been extremely challenged, again, Martin Luther King springs to mind with so many of these things, but the way that your why helps you is whenever you encounter resistance. So whether you have a bad day painting or doing your work, someone tells you your work looks like crap, someone else challenges art in general or whatever, and you start questioning yourself. The why is the thing that will help you move through those obstacles. Because there's another really great phrase, which is, you'll, let me think of this. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's basically saying you'll only overcome these resistances when you overcome yourself. When you have a big enough reason to move forward, that's really the time that you're going to overcome even the self-doubt and lack of confidence or whatever. If you have a big enough reason, someone who's not super confident will pass through a lot of resistance if they believe it's really meaningful. Okay, cool. And then the other thing to offer there is really the question about deeper purpose. So in the workshop that I run, I do an exercise which it's probably the most powerful exercise in the entire workshop. And Angelique, you've done the 2-day workshop. I don't know if you remember. When did you do it? You did it in May last year.
Yeah.
And And there, we did the deeper purpose exercise on the Sunday morning, where you sit across from someone. It's called the deeper purpose gaze. Do you remember sitting across from someone, looking into their eyes?
Yeah.
And then you say,
Oh, yes.
You say the phrase, "My deeper purpose is ...
Yeah.
And then you fill in the gap. And you do that for about a minute or two. And if you can't do this with a partner, I get people to do this in the mirror. So whenever you might want to do it tonight or tomorrow. And as you're doing this process, you're basically looking into yourself in the mirror, and you can't run away. You're being very present with yourself, and you're being very honest with yourself. And you just say that phrase, "My deeper purpose is ... So you might say, "My deeper purpose is to play music. My deeper purpose is to contribute to the world. My deeper purpose is to help others connect. My deeper purpose is to express myself." So basically what you're doing is you're just fishing. You're kind of just saying things that are coming to mind. You don't stop, you just continue the process. And then after about a minute, you will have honed it down to something that really resonates with you, that feels very true and feels honest, and that it's coming from a place of honesty. And that's something that you just ponder on for the following days, and you do the process again each day for about a minute. And it's a pretty amazing process where after doing it for about 5 days, there are certain things that when you say them, you'll feel there's a sense of truth about it. That's all I can say, basically. And so that's a really powerful exercise. If you can do that with someone that you really trust, then I would highly recommend you do that, because when you're doing that in front of someone else, you really can't fake it. And when you say the thing, they feel it as much as you do. It's a really great process. So getting back to this concept of motivation. So there are hundreds of little tools and tricks and things you can do to motivate yourself, to do something. But when it comes to long-term commitment to something, or long-term fulfillment of a bigger vision, it comes down to having really compelling, interesting, inspiring reasons to follow through whenever things feel a bit tough. Yeah. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Yep.
Very.
There.
Yeah.
Mm.
Cool. Any questions about that? Because when it's some of the stuff that I teach is really practical stuff, like how do I come up with a really clear 6-month plan? How do I plan out my week? What's the way to be most productive in the 2 hours that I have in my week to do creative work or whatever? So there's all of that stuff, but I believe that phrase, if your why is big enough, the how is easy. So if someone's interested enough and compelled enough to do something, they'll work out all that stuff, all those details. I mean, I guess in a way that's what I ended up doing. Was I struggled for a long time in my creative practice, just flopping around, practicing here and there and writing a couple of songs a year, and just realizing I'm nowhere near my creative potential. I know I've got so much more to give. And then I delved into things about deeper purpose stuff and the why. And that got me on this whole train of working out the how stuff. Okay, how do you do all this stuff? How do you be really productive? How do you stay focused? How do you stay focused on that big vision when you're seeing all this stuff? And it's all learnable. It's all totally learnable, and it's a practice. Yeah. Is there anything anyone would like to say I might start wrapping it up. Did anyone want to offer anything or reflect on anything or ask anything?
I
Maybe
really
if I
like
could-
if
Yeah, go ahead.
go. I really like if your why is big enough, the how is easy. I really like that. That's a really good
It's great.
good thing to remember. Yeah, definitely.
Anything else? I guess we've got a couple of minutes together. If you rack your brain for a question of like, if I wish I knew the answer to this. This is the thing that I'd really like to know the answer to this. I can't guarantee I'm going to be able to give you the answer, but I'll probably talk some crap about it.
Mm.
You've
Yeah,
been very thorough and given us a lot of information to think about. So, yeah, maybe in a couple of weeks after I finish processing, the questions will start coming. But yeah, at this stage, just digesting everything.
Cool. So,
Oh, I was just gonna say one
Yeah.
thing about if your why is big enough. Is it? Let me try and think about how I'm just trying to say this.
Yeah.
For me, making this board game that I'm doing now, this project. Sometimes I feel like my why is just because I want to. Is that like a big enough?
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like it's like I don't know. I guess I feel like it would bring joy to lots of people and stuff if I thought about it deeper. But yeah, I just feel like I want to do it, and that's just yeah. That's what I'm trying to say.
Cool. That's great. And sometimes you don't have to overanalyze everything, but I guess what I would suspect is that there are reasons there, because we very rarely do something for absolutely no reason. Behavior very often, if not always, follows reason. So, and it might all be great stuff. So if you think of the positive reasons, there must be something about this project that is really full. You enjoy the problem solving. You enjoy creating something that's fun.
Yeah.
And so there's this concept that behind every single goal, there is a bunch of feelings or states that we are actually after. So when we're doing goal setting, we're actually not after the goal. We're after what the goal gives us. And that's the reason that when someone has a goal of owning a Porsche, then they want 2 Porsches and then they want a Lamborghini, because they're chasing something. They're chasing either status or excitement or whatever it might be. So might be interesting to maybe look into the things that are maybe beneath the goal. What are the things that the goal is giving you? What are the feelings? It might give you a feeling of just advancing, or Does that feel like it makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I feel like the project now has become more about just completing it because I decided to do it while I was doing this course thing. So now it's kind of become like just more of like a way to start doing more things with myself.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds like a really fun project. Sounds cool.
Yeah. When I finish it, I'll send you a copy.
Definitely. I'd love that. Cool. So from here, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with everyone, is let you know how either we can work one-on-one doing coaching stuff, mentoring, and if you want that and you feel like I might be able to help you some more, then stick around and I'll let you know about how to do that. It's very easy, and I think you'll enjoy finding out about it. The other thing is that I promised that everyone that's live on the call is going to get a free copy of my ebook called Why Your Art Matters, and I'm also going to send you the audiobook version of that, and that's just because you guys are awesome for showing up and for taking action, following through on a commitment, and I really, really value people taking time to commit time to doing their art. It's a thing that I talk about in this free ebook that I have on my website, which you should also get. It's called The Prolific Artist. And the first key in that of being a prolific artist is making time. Making time to do your artwork is really the first key of being able to do it. So I really value you all taking time to be here and do this and go on this little journey, because you had no idea what it was going to be about or exactly what you'd get out of it. And so yeah, I want to send you all that book, and I hope you enjoy it. It's me reading the audiobook version too, which is
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I couldn't suck anyone else into doing it, so I did it myself. And then I'm going to share my screen and talk a little bit about the idea of mentoring. So I don't know if you've ever had mentoring or the idea of, like creative mentoring or coaching or whatever. And so I want to quickly go through this thing. So can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
The
Yes.
Re-Awaken my Creative Spark thing? Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, cool. So what is mentoring and why is it important? So, all right. So mentoring, there's a couple of things that I kind of think about mentoring. Mentoring is a process, is about drawing out the full potential of the artist being mentored. So the way that I think about mentoring and coaching is that a really good coach and a really good mentor sees the potential in the person being mentored. They know that there's way more there, and it's a process of drawing out that potential. So an example of that is actually Mike Tyson's coach. Mike Tyson found Mike Tyson in an alleyway, I think in the Bronx, just kind of fighting, and he was a 13 or 14-year-old boy, and he said, okay, this young kid has got something about him, and he took him into his boxing club, and he mentored him for years, and Mike Tyson has acknowledged that over and over, that he basically would have just been a thug in the Bronx if he wasn't kind of mentored by this dude. His name was Cus D'Amato. He's an amazing coach, interesting person. It's like calling ahead and using the knowledge and experience resources of someone who is somewhat further down the path. So it's, the way I think about it is kind of like calling ahead either to your future self or your creative future success or whatever, and basically asking, how did I get there? It's like reverse engineering how you get to where you want to go. It's a way to shortcut the process of endless trial and error, or trying to reinvent the wheel. So a lot of the stuff that I learned through mentoring, and also through modeling myself on other people who are doing great things. So one of those people is Claire Bowditch, who I know Katie knows Claire, and others of you also might know Claire. But I did a mentorship with Claire Bowditch, which was amazing, and I hadn't really done it officially with anyone until I did that with Claire, and it was really a massive turning point for me. She really got me to ask myself a lot of these questions, like, where do you actually really visualize and see yourself in 5 years, and then how are you going to do it? So it was a really amazing process. So the other thing is we all stand on the shoulders of giants. So there's no point trying to become that giant, trying to become that lone wolf and try and work out everything yourself. And when modeling works, when you model the behavior of people who are successful or advancing in their art, if you model what they're doing, generally you're going to be on the right track. So yeah, it's a way of saving yourself lots of money, time, and effort along the way. So I highly recommend being mentored, so by me or by anyone. If there's someone in your field who you think they're freaking amazing, they're successful at what they do, I want to be a fly on the wall in their life, I think you'll learn an extraordinary amount. So I highly recommend being mentored. Yeah, it's also a way of getting into the fast lane on your way to your creative vision. So I want to give you a couple of examples of artists and other great people who have been mentored, and we don't often think about these people as having mentors. We just think that they were geniuses and they worked it all out and they're so unique. And so this is a really a great way of realizing that these people kind of, they all had help along the way. So the first one is Allen Ginsberg. He was mentored by Walt Whitman. So their mentorship went over a number of years and they worked really closely together. Whoop. Leonard Cohen, everyone thinks also of Leonard, I do anyway, of him just being this quiet, damn genius. With Irving Layton. Then there's our mate Albert Einstein. Was mentored, especially in his earlier years, kind of through his teens, by Max Talmy, and they would basically meet once a week for lunch, and Max gave him all these books, and they had discussions, and really helped Albert Einstein grow into a thinker and into a someone who really went about changing the world. And then Mozart, the little genius, was mentored by Johann Christian Bach for a number of years. So there's this really, well, actually this quote says it: "Art's golden thread of mentors stretches not just into the ancient past, but also far into the future." There's a really long tradition of mentoring. It's like doing apprenticeships if you're a tradesman or something, that artists also had these mentors that helped them through stuff. So what if I'm interested in mentoring? At this point, is anyone interested in the idea of mentoring?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, a little bit. All right, cool. So, like I mentioned, I've been mentored by some amazing artists. Claire Bowditch is one of them. Gautier or Wally DeBacker is another one of them, who I speak to regularly and is helping me on my album at the moment. And I'm actually currently in his house. So me and my partner are now living here. He's over in New York and will be for a while. But having someone like that has helped me make some really great decisions about what I'm doing, how I'm spending my time, my approach to how I'm getting my music out to managers and other people and bookers and all that sort of stuff. So I've also mentored dozens of now amazing artists, people who have done the course and then have taken up mentoring with me, and they've gone on to finish their books, have their exhibition, overcome loads of the stuff that's been holding them back. It's been a really amazing process. So if you believe that you would benefit by some mentoring, maybe I can help you, or someone else can help you. But what I've decided to do is I'm going to make some time this week or next week, if it doesn't work for this week, to do basically a one-off session with you. It's an art supercharger session, and I don't do one-off sessions. because generally I feel like I need more time with people to make a really genuine change and build a trusting mentor relationship. But I want to do this because you've all learnt a bunch of stuff, and I want to be able to basically go a bit deeper with you individually if you wanted to do it. So in this session, we'll dive into your creative vision and bring it to life. So I've got a few processes and questions that I ask you to kind of bring that all up. Discuss in detail what might be holding you back at the moment, and I'll give you some specific tools you can use to overcome them. We create a pathway plan for the following 14 days. So this is basically where I start to lay out a couple of really specific things for you to do. And then you finish the session basically just feeling really excited and empowered to move forward with your creative practice. So my current rate for doing a one-off session when I've done them in the past is $97. And like I mentioned, you get all that stuff. But because everyone here has signed up for this Re-Awaken My Creative Spark session, I'm going to reward you for being an awesome action taker and being serious about your art. And I'm going to do a really special offer for you so that you can try out the mentoring for a very special price. So this is basically so you can try it out. You can see what that relationship's like and how it might benefit you, basically. And so I'm going to do it for $0. So I want everyone to do it, basically. And this is basically how we can arrange it. So to take me up on the offer, all you need to do is email me within the next 48 hours at that email address. So write that down, creativitymindsetmastery@gmail.com. And there are only 5 people on this call, I think, but this is limited to only the first 5 people that register. And yeah, so register right now. So send me your email, and then basically we'll lock in a time to chat for half an hour, and we'll go deeper into this stuff. So this, I am going to open this up to other people who weren't live on the call. So that email will go out later tonight, and then basically all the people on the list will have 48 hours to get in. But if you guys all get in, then it's going to be full. And I would love to work with each and every one of you. So if you're interested in just going a bit deeper into your creative practice and you feel like I can help you do it, then it's a bit of a no-brainer. Just email me.
Thanks, Mia.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So are you all back to seeing me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Cool. Awesome. All right. Cool. So I think that's probably about it. Yeah. Thank you all for being engaged in this process. It's been pretty intense process, and hopefully you've all been able to like re-watch some of the videos where I'm talking at 100 miles an hour, trying to jam-pack these sessions with good gear. Yeah, so thanks again, and I look forward to receiving your emails. And apart from that, there were a couple of other things, which was you can go to the website, creativitymindsetmastery.com, and you can download the free ebook, which is called Prolific Artist. Also, to get the Why Your Art Matters book and the audio book, you'll also need to email me for that as well, just because that's only for people who are live on the call. So email me for that, and I'll reply and I'll send you a download link for that. You can enjoy that. So that book is all about the 7 most important reasons to do your art and why you should be doing more of it. So it's really, the aim of that book was to try and give artists 7 great reasons to build that why. The book's called Why Your Art Matters. So it's really about giving you 7 great reasons to motivate you, to push you through any resistance if that ever comes. What else? I've got a course coming up on the 10th and 11th of October in Melbourne. So I think you're all in Melbourne. Not sure if you'll all be there then. And also, I wanted to offer a discount price for all of you people. It's normally $500, but if you either email me or you can go and sign up for it, and if you do sign up for it at the concession rate, which is half price. And I'm kind of going to launch that in the next few days. So I would also, if that's something you're interested in, if a part of you kind of wants to take this stuff a bit further, the weekend workshop, I can tell you, is the absolute best way to do it. It's a really intensive, amazing this stuff. You get to meet a bunch of awesome artists who kind of become your wolf pack going forward that you still meet up with. Like Angelique is still meeting up with a few of the people from that course from over a year ago. A really great network of people. And the course is freaking amazing, if I do say so myself. But there are testimonials on the website. And Angelique, because you've done the course, you can come and do it for free. So that's the other thing. If you've done the course once, you can come and do it for free. Thank you. So there you go. Okay. I hope you guys feel like I'm giving you some love here. And the reason is I sincerely want other artists to know some of the stuff that I know that's been absolutely transformative in my creative practice. And one of the reasons I'm doing it is because I wish someone had taken some time to teach me some of this stuff, because it would have absolutely changed the trajectory of my creative practice. And now that I know it, I feel a responsibility to really share that with other people. And as you can tell, I'm not in it for the money. If I was, I'd be doing a terrible job. So I just want to give you guys heaps of great stuff. And one of the reasons I'm charging to do the course is because I want people who are at least serious about doing it, serious about taking a real good stab at doing this and learning a lot more. If it was free, I think I'd get lots of just kind of randoms who would not take it very seriously. So, so I'll maybe in the follow-up email I'll send you all a bunch of all of that stuff, so you can go and eat up some more creative mindset stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mia.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Yay! Thank you. Did anyone else have anything to say before we wrap it up?
This has been pretty amazing.
Agreed.
Yeah. Just thank you so much again. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Very helpful.
And do that be okay with maybe writing a testimonial at some point if I send out a mail?
Of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Just so I can help get other people into this and get them coached, get them mentored, and rocking it. That would be great. I would really appreciate that. Testimonials can be a tricky thing to ask for, but they're so helpful, because I can tell people that this stuff is amazing and they should listen to me. But, they're like, yeah, whatever, dude. But if someone else says it, you really must know his stuff. All right, cool. Well, thanks again. You guys rock. Your art matters. Go on, create.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Look forward to catching you all somewhere in the real world.
Thank
you.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Definitely.
See ya.
Bye.
See you.